Have you ever stopped and wondered, what happened to the Australian dream? That promise that if you worked hard, paid your taxes, and saved diligently, you'd be able to enjoy your golden years in peace and comfort, right here in the country you helped build. For too many older Australians, that dream is turning into a nightmare of soaring living costs, of a housing crisis that's pricing you out of your own neighbourhoods, of watching your hard-earned savings get eaten away by inflation that just doesn't quit. They tell you it's temporary, they tell you it's global. But what they're not telling you is that for a growing number of Australians, the answer isn't to just tighten the belt a bit more. No, the answer they're being forced to consider is far more drastic. They're being forced to look overseas.
The cost of living crunch is sending more Western Australians to set up life overseas in Bali. Now, the Perth family who made their move to the island paradise, and how much they're saving on food, travel and household bills.
An estimated 600,000 Aussies moving somewhere else. They're looking to move out of this country, and they're being attracted by working visas in countries like the UK, Canada and the Netherlands. But there are also other options now. These include digital nomad visas to Bali, for example, where you can go there and you're free of paying any tax, currently for 6 months, but they're looking to extend it for 5 years.
And where are they looking? To Southeast Asia. That's right. Countries like Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, Bali and Indonesia, once holiday destinations, are now becoming potential escape routes for Australian retirees. We're seeing reports of everyday Aussies, even families, selling everything because they simply can't afford to live in their own country anymore.
Cost of living pressures are going to persist for at least 2025 and into 2026. Over the last 2 and a bit years, real household disposable income per capita in Australia has fallen by 3.2%.
Well, if you're struggling to pay the bills, you're not alone. New research revealing the cost of living is hitting harder than ever before.
The coalition is arguing the decline in living standards over the past 3 years has been the worst decline that we've seen for households in 50 years.
55% of people saying they're skipping meals. Nearly 60% of people can't afford the prescribed medication for them.
One father was quoted saying he was forever chasing the Australian dream, but realised one day that it would never be possible. And that they asked themselves, why are we trying to live in a country that we simply can't afford anymore?
Here is the exact spreadsheet of all the costs we've incurred in a 6-month period. Obviously, we've been traveling for longer now. For those who don't know who we are, we've been traveling full-time as a family now for a year. And I know no one really talks about the numbers. And you've got to remember that this is our family and our family only. The grand total was $27,435 for 186 days, $147.50 a day. How does that stack up to what you're spending in Australia? I'd love to know the answer to that question.
It's a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? You've given your best years to Australia, contributed to its prosperity, only to find that in your retirement, you're an economic refugee in your own land. The appeal of Southeast Asia is undeniable if you're pushed into this corner. The cost of living can be a fraction of what it is here. Imagine your pension, your superannuation, actually stretching far enough not just to survive, but to live comfortably. The cost of a cramped apartment in Sydney or Melbourne could buy you a beautiful home, maybe even with a pool in many parts of Southeast Asia. Your weekly grocery bill here, that could cover your food for a month, dining out included, decent healthcare, available and affordable, often with Western-trained doctors. Now, before I reveal just how much more your money could be doing for you, and believe me, you'll want to hear this, if you're finding this information eye-opening and want to stay ahead of the curve on issues that truly matter to sensible Australians, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what's coming next, because this could help save your financial situation. Let's look at the specifics. If you fancy a halfway decent 1-bedroom apartment in Sydney, you're looking at a median rent of around $780 per week, and that's median, meaning many are paying much, much more for a shoebox. In Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, a modern, comfortable 1-bedroom apartment in the city centre can be yours for roughly $600 to $800 Australian dollars per month. Think about that, a whole month's rent in a vibrant Asian capital for what you'd cough up for a single week in your own supposed lucky country. Fancy Chiang Mai in Thailand? You could be paying as little as $400 to $600 Australian dollars per month for a pleasant apartment. Da Nang, Vietnam, with its beautiful beaches? Similar story, around $400 to $700 Australian dollars a month. It's not just cheaper, it's a different league of affordability, one that doesn't treat your savings as a joke. Then there are utilities. That ever-climbing power bill, the water rates, the internet that costs a small fortune. You're probably looking at $200 to $300 a month or more in Australia before you've even blinked. In many parts of Southeast Asia, your utilities, electricity, water, high-speed internet will often be less than $100 Australian a month combined. And transport? A monthly public transport pass in Sydney or Melbourne can set you back well over $150 to $200. In contrast, getting around in many sea cities is incredibly cheap, whether it's pennies for a local bus, a few dollars for a Grab, their version of Uber, or even renting a scooter for peanuts if you're adventurous. Throw in dining out, where a decent restaurant meal can be under $10 Australian per person, and your weekly budget there can easily be half of what it is here. From utilities to transport, your everyday costs can drop by 60 to 70%, freeing up cash flow or letting you upgrade your lifestyle well beyond what's realistic on an Australian budget. And it's not just about the money. For some, it's a more relaxed lifestyle, warmer climates, vibrant cultures, the friendly locals, and the feeling of being able to afford services they could only dream of back in Australia. One person even said, "Why would I retire back to Australia when I can live on the coast of Thailand for half the cost, twice the house, and 3 times the fun?" But let's be brutally honest. While the brochures might paint a pretty picture, this isn't a joyous choice for many. It's a decision born out of desperation.
1 in 3 Australians are spending more than they earn each month. That's according to a recent survey by Finder. To break this down, Finder's Head of Consumer Research, Graham Cook, joins us now. Hello, Graham. Is the rising cost of living to blame?
The cost of living pressure has been very high on households in Australia for the last number of years.
Out of a feeling of being utterly let down by the system here at home, priced out, squeezed out, and forgotten. Some are calling those leaving economic refugees. It's a stark term, but for many, it reflects their reality. You have to ask yourself, how did we get here? How did it become more viable for hardworking Australians to pack up their lives and move to a foreign land than to simply retire in the country they call home? Is this the legacy our leaders want? A nation that exports its elderly because it can no longer afford to keep them? Why should you be forced to downgrade your life, to cut back on everything, to live in fear of the next bill, in the very country you helped build? While the elites and the out-of-touch bureaucrats live high on the hog telling you to tighten your belt? It's not fair, it's not right. It's a confronting thought, and it's one that should make every single one of us angry. So, the choice is becoming clearer, isn't it? A struggle here, or a significantly better quality of life elsewhere for your hard-earned money. If you're sick of being taken for a ride and want more no-nonsense insights like this, do yourself a favour and click subscribe right now. If you're angry, you should be, because this isn't just bad luck, it's the result of years of failure. Our economy is in a per capita recession right now, and it's only going to get worse. Watch this video to see how deep the damage goes, and what they're not telling you about Australia's economic collapse.